In the 1940s, Hedy Lamarr was one of Hollywood's most famous and strikingly beautiful actresses. Despite her prominent roles in numerous films and frequent appearances on celebrity magazine covers, few knew that she was obsessed with science and was also an inventor on many levels. Instead of attending glamorous Hollywood parties after a long day at MGM Studios, Hedy often chose to spend her evenings tinkering. Despite not having formal training in engineering or mathematics, she demonstrated incredible ingenuity, coming up with practical solutions for many everyday problems. Some of her inventions included a tissue box attachment for disposing of used tissues, and a glow-in-the-dark collar for dogs. But perhaps her most significant invention was something called frequency hopping, a technology that played a critical role during future wars and eventually contributed to the development of Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. Hedy Lamarr, born Hedwig Kiesler in 1914 in Vienna, Austria, was the only child of a very affluent Jewish family. Her father, a bank director, and her mother, a concert pianist, gave her a well-rounded debutante education. This included ballet, piano, and equestrian training. Even as a child, Hedy displayed an innate curiosity typical of an engineer. During long walks through Vienna with her father, he explained the workings of streetcars and how electricity was generated at the power plant. At just 5 years old, she herself took apart a music box and reassembled it piece by piece, just to see how it operated. While Hedy may have dreamed of becoming an engineer or scientist, it just wasn't practical for a girl growing up in 1930s Vienna. As a result, she redirected her ambitions toward the entertainment industry. She started as a script girl and gradually earned small acting roles. Austrian director Max Reinhardt brought her to Berlin, where she appeared in several minor films. At 18, she landed a controversial role in the film Ecstasy. The film showed Hedy nude and also was the first to have an on-screen orgasm. This led to condemnation by the Pope, and the film was banned in Germany and restricted in the US for being considered dangerously indecent. At this time, Hedy Lamarr was still Hedy Kiesler, and while she was working on a play in Vienna, she caught the attention of Fritz Mandl, a wealthy Austrian arms manufacturer. They married in 1933, but the relationship was controlling and oppressive. Mandl forced her into meetings with clients, including representatives from Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy. In 1937, Hedy fled both her marriage and Austria, primarily because of the anti-Jewish policies spreading across Europe. After first escaping to London, Hedy booked passage to the United States aboard the luxury liner the SS Normandy. It just so happened that MGM studio head Louis B. Mayer was also traveling aboard. Hedy made sure to be seen on deck, looking beautiful and playing tennis with some of the handsome men on board the ship. By the time they reached New York, Hedy had secured a deal with Mayer for $500 a week with the condition that she learned English within 6 months. Mayer also insisted she change her name from Hedy Kiesler to Hedy Lamarr. Hedy quickly became a rising star in Hollywood, but her true passion lay in problem solving and invention. She found a kindred spirit in Howard Hughes, the film producer and aeronautical engineer. When Hedy proposed a dissolvable tablet that could turn a soldier's canteen water into a soft drink, Hughes provided her with the help of his chemists. Hedy mainly worked at home, designing and building things from her inventing table. Another one of her creations was a shower seat for the elderly that swiveled safely out of the bathtub. A turning point came when Hedy met avant-garde composer George Antheil at a dinner party. Antheil, who had lost a brother at the start of World War II, shared Hedy's determination to help defeat Hitler. Drawing on what she had learned from her time with Mandl, Hedy and Antheil developed the concept of a radio-controlled torpedo, one that couldn't be jammed by the enemy. Inspired by their mutual love of the piano, they devised the idea of frequency hopping. Just as two musicians playing the same piece can move in sync across the keyboard, their torpedo signal would hop across different frequencies, making it nearly impossible for the enemy to predict or jam. All you needed was two synchronized clocks that started a tape at the same time, one on the ship and one inside the torpedo. The signal would be continuous, even though it was jumping to a new frequency every split second. For everyone trying to jam the signal, it would seem to be hopping all over the radio spectrum, and so Hedy coined the term frequency hopping to describe their breakthrough. In 1942, the frequency hopping patent was finalized, but the US Navy couldn't see the importance of it, so at the time they weren't interested. Hedy and Antheil's invention was filed away as top secret for the duration of the war, and they returned to their regular lives, thinking their inventing days might be behind them. However, their patent would eventually resurface. In the 1950s, the electronics company Sylvania used frequency hopping to develop secure communication systems for submarines. By the early 1960s, the technology was adopted by the US Navy during the Cuban Missile Crisis to prevent Soviet signal jamming. By the 1990s, frequency hopping had become so widespread that it was mandated by the U.S. Federal Communications Commission for secure radio communications. Technologies like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, used by billions of people today, are based on the ideas Hedy Lamarr and George Antheil first conceived. Hedy Lamarr never received any money or official recognition from the military for her invention. Although frequency hopping was patented in 1942, the US military didn't widely use it until after the patent had expired. By the 1960s, as her Hollywood career declined and she grew older, she withdrew from public life. She distanced herself from the spotlight, rarely making public appearances or engaging with the media. Part of her reclusiveness stemmed from her frustrations with being remembered primarily for her beauty. This led her to have many plastic surgeries in an attempt to maintain her beautiful Hollywood looks. Hedy also experienced financial difficulties and faced legal battles, including highly publicized shoplifting arrests. She was very much isolated, and these factors, combined with her struggles in maintaining personal relationships, caused her to retreat further away from pretty much everyone. Hedy eventually retired to Florida in the 1980s. By this time, she was communicating only by telephone, even with her children. She preferred talking on the phone and would spend hours on it each day. Despite her isolation, she continued to invent and remained intellectually curious. While Hedy's reclusive nature often overshadowed her later life, her contributions to technology and her eventual recognition as an inventor have left a lasting legacy. It wasn't until very late in her life that Hedy began receiving recognition for her contributions. Engineers finally connected the dots and realized that Hedwig Kiesler, listed on the frequency hopping patent, was none other than Hedy Lamarr. In 1997, she and Antheil were both honored with the Electronic Frontier Foundation Pioneer Award, acknowledging their groundbreaking work in wireless communications. Hedy Lamarr passed away on January 19, 2000, at the age of 85 from heart disease. She was much more than a Hollywood icon. She was brilliant, laying the groundwork for the technologies we rely on today. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and please consider subscribing and sharing Recollection Road Entertainment with someone you know. As always, thank you so much for watching.